Oh!
Let's do first gear, Paul.
First gear?
So that we can get the full supercar experience.
Now, just quickly, I want to remind you about Car Vertical, who are sponsoring this part of the video, but are also sponsoring part of Test Drive Month here on the channel. Car Vertical is your one-stop shop for the most detailed report on your car or car you're looking to buy's history. They amass information from over 900 different sources, meaning that you get this super concise and easy to consume report that details pretty much everything you would want to know about your car's background. There are the obvious red flag checkers, like whether the car's ever been stolen or ever been in an accident, but there's other super useful elements of the report, like their mileage graph, so you can check that the odometer on your car adds up to what it should be. They also have a valuation tool, meaning that if you're going to go in and haggle the price with a dealer, you kind of know what you should be aiming at. But there's so much more than that. I was blown away by just how much information a Car Vertical report includes. So if you're interested in your car's background, or as I say, if you're out there shopping and you want to know everything that you should know about a car before you start haggling on the price, head over and check out Car Vertical. Use the link in the description below. That will get you a discount on reports, and I think you'll be super impressed by what you get back. Anyway, let's crack on with the video. Welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Now, if you've been watching my recent videos, you'll know this month has been Test Drive Month here on the channel. But this video marks the end of Test Drive Month. The adventures are about to start once again, and they are big adventures in both this, my 911 GT3, and in my Ferrari 360. So subscribe now, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on what I think are going to be some pretty epic videos. But before I embark on those travels, I wanted to make one more video here in the UK, because recently my friend and good friend of the channel, Paul Wallace, finally bought a new supercar. I say finally, I mean it's a bit of an in-joke, but a joke that I think his viewers will kind of understand. Because Paul sold his last supercar, a Murcielago LP640, I think like 2 years ago now. And in the time between then and now, he's made a whole load of videos for his channel, basically kicking tires, trying to work out what to replace that car with. So today I want to check out his new car, but also understand why it took him so long to choose. You know what? This might be my favourite car that you've ever owned.
You've got the thumbnail. Now you go.
Wait, do it again. I'm definitely not going to use that as the thumbnail, but still, what? This is amazing!
I thought you'd like it because I've kept it fairly stock.
Well, I was going to say that's probably why I like it so much, is it looks bone stock. But this is, mate, this is right up my street. Right, park it up. Park it up. Look at this beauty.
I didn't know this was a fan meet and greet.
I was going to say, we've got an audience.
What are these guys doing?
They're obviously into their cars because they came running over for the GT3. But they seem
Have you left your nose lift up?
No, I was putting it down as you pulled in, which is, I think when you first arrived, you probably saw it up and I thought, oh God, I got to put it down. So suddenly loaded. Can we just say though, how huge does the GT3 now look next to your car?
This is one of my favourite things. Since picking this up, I've realised just how small it is. When you're in it, the whole car is basically around your body.
I didn't realise.
It's one of the best things about the fact that it's so old.
I look like I'm in a Panamera. So, 2009 is this car?
Yeah, it's
bought a modern classic.
I know.
Look at you. Actually, to be fair,
Come and have a look at something else about this car, which you all know. But anyway, 3 pedals, 6-speed gearbox.
I mean,
What have I become?
We've swapped roles. I mean, you've owned actually kind of more modern classics than I have, if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you haven't worked it out by now, this is Paul's new Audi R8 V10 with the manual gearbox. And it's already been pooed on? But is that alpaca spit?
No. I got it cleaned yesterday specifically for today.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it's already been.
Yeah, well, that's
defecated.
that's living in the UK. I mean, by the way, also, why are you dressed like you're in
I
Marbella?
completely regretted not putting a hoodie on before getting out of the car.
It's really not the kind of day to be in a t-shirt and no socks.
Well, yeah.
So we're going to jump in this car, if that's all right.
Yep.
And I kind of want to understand, after 2 years of looking at pretty much every single car on the car market and texting both Tony and I with all the possibilities, you ended up with a car that I don't think I ever saw coming, a manual Audi R8
I'll tell you what,
V10.
I didn't see it coming either.
No one did.
I just want to.
What's happening?
Do first gear, Paul. So,
First gear?
so that we can get the full supercar experience. Well, as you can see, I'm still getting used to it. Just love a manual, don't you? I'm so good at it. I literally felt like I'd nailed that gear shift and actually clinked the middle bit so it sat in neutral. And I'm still in neutral, by the way.
To be fair, I still do that every now and again with my 360.
You just cut it out of the air.
There we go. I mean, that soundtrack. Tony and I actually did a piece recently on the podcast saying, well, the V10's about to die.
Yeah.
But what a shame when that day comes, because it is one of the most, I think, iconic sounding modern sports car engines.
It has been so successful in so many road cars and race cars that, okay, every single Hurricane or R8 driving around London sounds quite like this.
Sure.
But
That's great.
There is nothing better than actually when you're in this car and you've got it behind you.
100%. So, okay, so let's get into the why this car. I mean, we've already touched on, of course, the nostalgia element, but if we're going down that route, why didn't you go back and get a Gallardo?
Well, originally, that was what my plan was.
Okay.
So I test drove a Mark 1 Gallardo Superleggera. Which, as
you know,
we know on the See Through Glass channel, is a fan favourite within the Lamborghini brand. But it was around the same sort of time that we'd put the flat on the market, and I won't bore you with the financials, but basically our mortgage advisor was like, you'd be mad to go and get finance on a car when you're trying to get a mortgage.
Well, and the Gallardo Superleggera is at least double the price of one of these.
Exactly. So then I was like, okay, well, what can I get as a bit of a stopgap that will allow me to have something a little bit fun, go on the road trips, put some miles on, not feel overly protective. So I started to think, okay, I'm going back to manual V8 R8. That was my original plan, but realised that, so when I first bought my R8, which was a 2014 maybe, I paid 44 grand for this car, for the V8.
For the original one that
For the original one. And today, if you want a good example of a V8 R8, they're still around 40 to 45 grand. Like, they have not depreciated at all. And then I saw this pop up at like 52 grand. I was like, that looks really nice. V10. And then when I clicked on the photos, I saw that it had a manual gearbox. It hadn't been listed with a manual gearbox. I was like, oh, see, I wasn't looking at these at all, but maybe this is a thing. Maybe I can bridge the gap between that Superleggera and the V8 R8. So I went down and had a look at it, started to have a conversation with them, and I think the fact that it had a full Audi service history, it's got all of the receipts for every single thing that it's done. It's already got the mag ride delete, which was one of the big problems for these cars. So everything was pretty much done for it. All I needed to do was test drive it to make sure that the steering wasn't wobbly, it was veering off to one side or the other, and I kind of used my expert advice as long as it's mechanically sound, I'll buy it. And then the exterior and the interior, with a little bit of TLC, I can get it back to where it needs to be.
And that's the big thing with modern classics, as you kind of discovered with the LB640, you don't want to fart around focusing necessarily on colour and trim.
No,
it's about history.
It's almost not important at all.
Yeah, it's about the mechanicals, because everything else you can theoretically change, but if you buy a dog, you are always left with a dog.
Yeah.
So, the manual part.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
as maybe we just witnessed, but I think most people will know, you're not exactly like the biggest manual fan. Okay, fine, you had the manual V8 R8, but since then, kind of only been in automatics, and you've been a big fan of auto. So, was this just because you thought nostalgia again? Was it because the S-Tronic V10 was a disaster? Like, why manual?
Okay, so it was the R-Tronic that was terrible.
Okay.
So the R-Tronic was terrible. So there was never ever a bone in my body that wanted to buy an automatic R8 from this generation. It was always going to be manual.
Okay.
But I'm a massive fan of the flappy paddles, the dual clutch. I actually felt like, and have been feeling like for at least the last 3 years, all of the new stuff that's coming out is too smooth. Like, I like that sweet spot from the 430 Scuderia, which is one of my favourite gearboxes, all the way up to, I'd say, like 720S era, so 2017. Maybe that 10-year period did the best auto gearboxes.
Well, you still get a bit of a feel, a bit of a kick.
Exactly. But, I mean, I literally will say this on camera and off camera, that there was the first time I'd ever put my foot flat to the floor of this car.
We'll do it again.
All right.
Come on. Don't mess it up. Lovely. But yeah. But why is that? Is it because I'm going to maybe answer the question for you, that this car's actually a bit more of a cruiser than you realised, or you just haven't had the chance to go flat in it yet?
I've not had the chance because I've literally collected this car in the middle of the winter where it's just been constant rain, the temperatures haven't been quite right, and yeah, it's quattro, but I want to wait until I get into the European roads and then start to really enjoy the car. So for me, having 500 brake horsepower through a manual gearbox is the sweet spot.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
And for me, when I realised I wanted the R8, there was never a question that it was going to be an auto. It had to be the manual gearbox. 500
horsepower, manual gearbox, and V10 engine.
Yeah.
It is a delightful recipe.
And listen to just the sound.
And you know what, for me, that's your sound. I was like, I'm still traumatized by that guy I know you had with the world's loudest exhaust.
Yeah, that was a bit offensive.
It was too much, but when I look at you, I still hear that car. And this is a much sweeter tone. And a much nice, but it is very you. And oh, look, as I say, it's my favourite car that you've owned. I think it's absolutely the bomb. And you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said about the size. It feels super compact on a UK road. And you can just knock it into 6th gear and just cruise along and
like
be very comfortable. I mean, if anything, it's boring. Which is, I mean, great for you because you're very happy cruising like this.
I love jumping in this car, and even the drive round, I enjoyed the drive round. And to me, when you're jumping into a car that isn't your daily, you want to enjoy every single mile. And I learned that with the Murcielago the most, because that car, I only ever drove it when I wanted to go flat out. And so having the R8 alongside the Golf GTI, it's the most sensible car, that Golf, that I've ever owned. It's got Apple CarPlay, it's got everything, and it works. And okay, this has quite a lot of stuff. I was way more surprised with the spec that it had when I collected it. One thing though is the Bluetooth connectivity. I can make and receive calls, but I can't play media, so I can't listen to podcasts, I can't play my own music, I have to listen to the radio. So that's one thing I desperately need to change. If I can also figure out a way of putting Apple CarPlay in here as well.
It's got to be possible, right? Nowadays, I feel like you can put CarPlay in anything. There'll be someone who knows how. If anyone out there knows how to put CarPlay into this generation R8, get in touch with Paul. He needs it. Oh my God, there's a 360! There's a 360 Spider!
And there's an R8, but the old, go on.
I gotta get that shot. Look at that! What even is this dealership?
What about that?
Oh, R8. What a great dealership, James Paul. Giving a shout out to James Paul. Anyway, look, I guess enough chat. Let's try and enjoy this car a little bit more and see if you can nail
get out
at least one gear shift and crack on to our next destination. Well, we've come down to the ever awesome Octane collection because today, well, it's turning out to be a bit of a nostalgia day. Spending time in an R8 with you once again reminded me of a day many moons ago.
Yeah.
When we came down to the Octane. Why can I not speak today? I didn't have enough coffee this morning. When we came down to the Octane collection, and you were basically looking to buy, I think, at the time, a Gallardo.
Yeah.
So I brought you back here today in an R8 to show you a Gallardo. Let's go have a look.
I mean, I don't want to like ruin your day. I love the R8, but this, what a thing, right?
It can't ruin my day, and I'll tell you why. Because whilst this is one of 3 right-hand drive manual Balbonis, it is up for sale for £250,000.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Pretty sure it is. I mean,
it's not worth that.
I paid £48,000 for the same thing.
No, I joke. It probably is worth that because, as you say, I didn't realise.
But when you consider the Lamborghini collector's cars,
yes.
You've got Miura, you've got the Diablo 6-litre GTs. This is going to fall into that category.
It doesn't get much better when it comes to special,
iconic.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, forget even Mercy SVs. Like, there is more of Mercy SVs than there are manual Balbonis, a car that was built for and in homage of the ever famous test driver. I don't know whether anyone actually knows the full story about the Balboni because I didn't actually want to buy the Bicolore, and I ended up buying the Bicolore from two buildings that way. We are on the same industrial estate as Southern Sky Motors.
That's why I bought you here. It's a real throwback day.
But I went to Octane Collection because they had a black E-gear Balboni, and then however many years later I bought a rear-wheel drive Hurricane and put a Balboni stripe on it.
There we go. I'm throwing it back for you. I even arranged, well, it's not an LP640.
No, this
6.2.
is an interesting concoction of various things. It's got the original 6.2 wheels, it's got a full LP640 body kit, but then it's still got the original 6.2 Murcielago tail lights, which actually is one of the things that a lot of original 6.2 Murcielagos did to try and modernise the car, was just the tail lights. But it is weird, and it's left-hand drive, it's manual, which is cool, but yeah, like these tail lights are weird when you put it with the LP640 body kit.
You just went on a 2-minute monologue there. I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, today's basically about celebrating Paul and his new car, but also, I guess, his past and our past. And we have to therefore mention, well, this, because yeah, it's not all about you today.
Do you know what? I've driven this, not this car, but I've driven Challenge Denali back to back with Mark 1 Superleggera. Do you remember we spoke about it?
I do, because you called me straight after.
Yeah, it literally absolutely shat on the Gallardo. The Gallardo felt slow, it felt quiet, it felt clunky, and whilst it was just that classic Lamborghini sledgehammer, out of the box, this is one of the most enjoyable cars I've ever driven.
Yeah, it's all the emotion, all the feels. Really interesting spec this. You very rarely see, firstly, a non-stripe car, but it's black with a black interior, black leather interior, which is super nice, and then the silver wheels. It's not particularly my kind of spec. It's a bit more your spec, I would say.
Yeah.
But
How much is it?
How much is it? I have no idea. But I mean, if it's a right-hand drive car, it's got to be 200 odd grand, I would assume. But yeah, I mean, I would have it in any spec, I've got to be honest. But yeah, I mean, 3 cars that really sum up our existence on YouTube, really, and our story. And then, as I say, in Octane Collection, which, did we ever make a video that day that we came down to look at that car for you? I'm not sure we did.
We might have, but without actually filming Octane, because you were in the 4C. So we
Was I in the 4C?
would have been, for sure.
Yeah, I would have been.
So we might not have made a video of seeing that car, because I probably would have wanted to keep it under wraps whilst I was doing that initial shopping phase. Yeah. I'm sure we filmed a video on that day.
Unlike the last 2 years where you've obviously filmed every single test drive.
Yeah, even I got bored of that.
But yeah, super cool seeing. Anyway, as ever, Octane collection full of some other incredible cars. I mean, look at this lineup here. 599 GTO and an LFA flanked by 2 Carrera GTs and that insane Koenigsegg, which I got to drive last year. Absolute beast that. I mean, it just continues. I got to get back down here at some point and do a bit of an update, maybe even a test drive video. Look at this stunner. Okay, too much to get distracted by. Paul, we should leave. Let's go, because we're going to be stuck here for a long time.
It's really felt like a bit of a throwback today. I've kind of loved it. Firstly, doing a collaboration with Paul, but also seeing him in, yes, an Audi R8, coming down to a dealership to check out cars, and yeah, it's been kind of brilliant. And whilst this is the end of test drive month and the start of some big adventures, it's going to be adventures that are also somewhat nostalgic, or at least are going to feature Paul, because supposedly, and I hope I'm not ruining his announcement here, he's bringing that car down to the south of France, which is, yes, one of the locations I'm going to be headed to in this GT3. Oh, I've given away a bit of my plans there. I wasn't planning on doing that. But yeah, it's been an awesome month, catching up with lots of different dealers and getting behind the wheel of some very cool cars. I hope you've enjoyed it. But from now, we're launching into a very busy and very exciting period on the channel, which, yeah, can't really wait for. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, subscribe now, turn on notifications so you don't miss out. I'll catch up with you very soon. Bye-bye.